बाकी सब भी unmute.
And
the event will be simultaneously telecasted in YouTube also, ma'am.
oh, great. Yeah. So you can hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Rigangshi, ma'am, can we start the event now?
Sure, sir. We'll start. Greetings, everyone. I am Dr. Mrigangshi Wilson, Assistant Professor, ICFI Law School. I welcome you all for today's one-hour lecture session on rights of parents. We have with us our special speaker for the day, Ms. Anuradha Sen, Deputy Director at HelpAge India. I welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We also have with us Mr. Divakar Das, Placement Manager, ICFI Law School. Sir, I request you to please begin with the welcome note.
Thank you, ma'am. The ICFI Law School is a constituent body of the ICFI University, Dehradun. It is passed by the State Legislature Act by 2003. ICFI Federation of Higher Education is a total non-profitable institution which runs 11 universities across the country and include 8 law schools. ICFI Law School Dehradun is one of its premier and oldest law institution in ICFI society. We have around 1800 plus law students in BBA LLB honors. We started in BBA LLB honors in the year 2004. It is our 13th batch. BA LLB honors, LLB 3-year degree program, and 1-year LLB program, including PhD program in law. Not only that, we are ranked with different ranking agencies of national and international repute, including WURI, WURI, that is International Ranking Agency. Plus, we are NAC accredited. So that is all about our the introduction of ICFI Law School, the ICFI University Dehradun. In ICFI University Dehradun, we have 4 departments of law. It's as its biggest department, then management as ICFI Business School, then tech as ICFI Tech School, and education as ICFI Education School. Every school has its own PhD programs too. Our base objective is to nurture the upcoming generation in a way so that they can earn as well as they can give something to the upcoming generations. So that is all about ICFI Law School, ICFI University Dehradun. Over to you, ma'am.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Das and Dr. Wilson. Today, I would also like to begin with a few words of our organization, that is HelpAge India. And Mr. Das is well aware of it because it's a long relationship, in fact, with the students of ICFI who used to come over for internship. But due to COVID, as you know, from 2020, that all that has been stopped. So I'm in a way quite happy that, you know, we have connected once again through online, which is now the norm of the day. So HelpAge India is a NGO, it's a non-governmental organization, non-profit, and it is a national level organization, the only national level organization working for the cause and care of the senior citizens. And we have a whole lot of program designed for the senior citizen, not only for the rural poor, but also for the urban senior citizens who are these days facing loneliness, and especially during the COVID and lockdown period. So that's very, very much in a nutshell as to what HelpAge does. We have our socio-economic and health programs going on, like a mobile health unit, cataract operations. We have livelihood programs also, livelihood for senior citizens, and we have organized them into groups, the elder self-help groups. And we have given them the economic development, the social development, and of course health is a very important factor. Now, having said this, we have a advocacy department also that is very active from the, as I said, from the elder self-help group level in the villages. So from villages to districts, to blocks, to districts, from state, and then it has a federal structure onto the national level. So what happens is that all the feedback that we get about senior citizens goes up to the central government at the MOSG, Minister of Social Justice and Empowerment, and we advocate for laws that would include the senior citizens. So this is very important, this background, because through a long-term advocacy, we today have what we call the Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizens Act. It is in the introduction, you'll see it is written as a bill because it was, I think, made when the act was, the bill was not passed as an act. But today we have an act in place for senior citizen. Now, as law students, you'll see that in this slide, there were other maintenance acts previously in 1973, section 125 CRPC, and the Hindu Adoption Act of 1956. In spite of that, why was it necessary to have another act, a maintenance act, in the year 2007? And this is because the maintenance and welfare, this welfare component was not there previously. So through ongoing advocacy, what we was successful in is to make the legislatures, the lawmakers, understand that it's just not maintenance and you do away with it. It's more than that. There has to be a welfare component. And here is the significance of this law. Now, the act, as I said, provides for a few things, what are they? They provide the need for basic maintenance, which is same for all the previous acts that we had till now. Providing better medical facilities. Now, this is something new. And we all know that healthy aging is most important now these days. Why? Because people are living longer. With the advancement of medicine and medical infrastructure, like good hospitals and better equipments, people are living longer. Life expectancy has increased. And because of that, more quality of life for the senior citizens is very important. And that has been made, established by this law. So medical facilities to senior citizens. Now, we all know about directive principles of state policy. Okay, so any directive principle of state policy is a framework for governance, but it is the fundamental thing. But directive principle of state policy will not tell you, well, love your parents. You cannot do that. And no law can also say that you have to love your parents. But what they can do is what? This maintenance. You have to give maintenance in way of monetary maintenance. You have to see that all their necessities of life is being looked after by the children, and that is by the providing medicine, food, and other for other purposes too. And for institutionalization of a suitable mechanism for protection of life and property of older person. Now, these are the headlines. I will explain to you here only, but again, we will see it being repeated in the following slides. And that is the protection of life and property. You see, it is very rampant, and we hear it in our helpline also, that children get the property of the parents or make the parents write the properties in their name. And after that, they are turned out of the house. So what happens then? So there is a condition, revocation of property. And this is a very important condition because, again, in the legal jargon, you know that any gift cannot be got back, cannot be returned, because there are tax implications. So people, in the name of a gift, will avoid those taxes and get back the land or the property in their name. But there's an exception according to this law, where even if you give your property to your children, and this is of course after 2007, after the act has come into functioning, only then after 2007 any property given to children, because with the knowledge that they will be looking after them, in that case, if the children do not look after the parents, then the property goes back to the uh, parents. So for that, of course, they have to apply. Another thing about this act is, as I said, apply. It is not sorted out in any court, in any of the regular courts. So what is it? Where do they go to meet to address their grievances? Tribunals have been formed. And what are these tribunals? These tribunals are mainly the social welfare department, uh, the social welfare department in big cities. Otherwise, it is the SDO, sub-divisional office is the maintenance tribunal. Okay, and the sub-divisional officer is the presiding officer who will hear all cases pertaining to the Maintenance Act, provided you have applied under this act. And application under this act is also very simple. It's just a form where you have to go to the SDO office, ask for the form, fill up the form, and just submit that form. And generally, when you submit the form, immediately a letter, a notice rather, in legal terms, goes to the legal heirs or to the children, to all the children. Even if one child is looking after the parents, even that child will also get a notice. And after the notice is served, from that time, within 3 months, that is 90 days, an order has to be passed by the tribunal. So if you think about it, this is also another part of the welfare component. And why is that? Because we know senior citizens, they have a time span, lifespan. And what happens is that when the courts are, as it is, inundated with a whole lot of cases, and it generally takes time. When the lawyers are there, sometimes unscrupulous lawyers are also there, and they drag their feet over it. So the elderly person does not see justice. And of course, before that, we have seen that they pass away. So for speedy trial, this act can be considered as a very important welfare act also. The other thing is setting up of old age homes in every district. This is very important. Why? Is these days, we know, due to globalization, the children is that not only not they're staying with their parents, maybe in different cities in India, but also abroad. But they do want to care for their parents. The situation is such that they cannot be with their parents, or the parents may not be strong enough to go, or do not want to go, leave their country and go to foreign lands where their children are working. So in that case, it is seen that old age homes are very necessary. So setting up of old age home in every district, and this is the government has this, every state government is required to do this. So 125 indigenous, for 125 indigenous people, this old age home has to be built in every district. But again, may and shall, there is a difference. The act says the state government may build old age homes. There, of course, has been recent PILs, and Helpage India has been in the forefront of it to see that these old age homes do come up. Because ever since 2007, not many old age homes are there in every district. Of course, another thing which is very important in this act is that the norms and strictures that the old age home should follow is all detailed in that act. Now, who can apply? The first question, if somebody is not getting maintenance, any senior citizen, then one can talk about this act, the Maintenance Act, and then the first question is that how do you go about it? So how do you go about it? First of all, who can apply? Only senior citizen can apply for maintenance, and also maintenance and welfare of parents and senior citizen. Even a parent can also apply. He may not be a senior citizen. If incapable, then any other person or organization like Helpage India has helped many senior citizens for applying for this law, and tribunal may take cognizance suo motu. So if the tribunal hears, yes, there's a case where maintenance is not being given, which is again in a way a kind of abuse, so the tribunal may voluntarily take up the case and send notices to the children. As I said earlier, where to apply? The SDO office is the maintenance tribunal. And another most important factor is that lawyers are not allowed for any side. They're not allowed to plead the case in the tribunal. So who will help the senior citizen in putting their grievances and problem? Generally, it is the social welfare officer of every district who can do that. And we have also been advocating for the fact that a representative from an NGO working for the senior citizens should also be allowed. It should be specified in the act, because I have personally also gone and helped many senior citizens in the tribunal. But in one of the tribunals, I was asked by the SDO that to stay outside because the law does not permit. So we need advocacy there also. This is my personal experience, which I had to share. But yes, one can, any NGO or anybody who is authorized by the senior citizen can, of course, fill up the form and submit the form in the SDO office. Okay, this has been discussed, observation given within 90 days. And you've noticed that the 90 days period is brought down to 60 days for person over 80 years of age. Now, this is the maintenance tribunal. Then there is the appellate tribunal. Now, an interesting thing in this, that we all know this, of course, this act denies the natural justice, which we all talk about, meaning thereby the children cannot take the case, the order, to appeal. And that way it is one-sided. If the senior citizen is given an order for maintenance and he or she is not happy with the amount of maintenance, in that case, they can go, the senior citizen only. And if the defendant feels that the children that I'm talking about over here will always be the defendants over here, if they feel that no, it is an unfair order, they will not be able to go to the appeal court. So here the appellate tribunal or the appeal court is the district magistrates, where only parents or senior citizens can apply. Yes, so I will discuss about some of the salient features under this act and why is it called an Welfare Act. I've spoken about a few already, but as I said, I've underlined this: speedy disposal, that is within 90 days, and 60 days if the senior citizen is above the age of 80 years. No legal fees. As we know, if we go to a court, the stamp fees and everything, the lawyer fees, there are a lot of fees that one has to spend, money one has to spend. But over here, since there are no lawyers are debarred, and there are no legal fees either. And even if you want to get the order in a sheet, there also the copy of the order also, you do not have to pay anything for it. Down the, you can see that the maximum maintenance cap is rupees 10,000. There has been a move for amending that to increase that amount. But if you see the maximum maintenance which the tribunal can give, it will give you an idea that this is for people who are not so like lower middle class, economically not so sound, and so it is done thinking about them. So that is why the rupees 10,000, when it first came out in 2007, this act. But now seeing that a lot of people are taking the help of this act for maintenance, and in urban areas also, there is a move for an amendment so that this amount is raised a bit higher. Now, by children, they have also been very specific. It is not only your biological children, it also means adoptive children, legal heirs. Suppose senior citizens who have no children bequeath their property to their legal heirs, who they consider as to be legal heirs, uh, then they also have to take care of the senior citizens while they are alive. And the NRIs. In fact, there has been again another case where Helpage India has supported the senior citizens, the parents, to get some justice because the children were staying abroad in London, in fact. And we made a move, and in fact, we went a long way, and they were summoned to attend the tribunal was dealing with this case that's in Kolkata, in Salt Lake. But in the end, what it was seen that the son who was staying in London is not an NRI, but is a citizen of UK. So in that case, this law has no jurisdiction over children who have taken the citizenship of any other country. But as long as they are NRIs, they're non-resident Indians, then this law can also be applied to them. So as I said, parents meaning even step parents, adoptive parents, in-laws, all are included in the word parents when we say that it is the Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizens Act. There are little, since you're law students, I will still venture a little further in saying that yes, there are ex parte hearings, and the maintenance tribunal have all the powers of civil court for taking evidence under oath, enforcing attendance of witnesses, and production of documents and material evidence. So it goes to show that although it is not worked out in any court, but the maintenance tribunal has been given a lot of power. The next point is of a conciliation officer. In spite of all this, before the case takes on full swing, there's a conciliation officer who visits both, makes both the sides, the children and the parents, sit together and try and resolve their conflict. If it is resolved, then of course, there is no need to carry on with the case. But if it isn't, then of course, the case has to be fought in the maintenance tribunal. The only thing is that if it is found, the bank balance of both the parties is seen in this case. Although, as we have discussed earlier, that the children cannot go up in appeal, but at least one concession is that they will see the bank balances of both the parents and the children. If the parents have sufficient bank balance to, lead their normal lifestyle, then they will take a different stand. And if the son is really incapable of supporting the parent, then it will be a different issue altogether. We've discussed about the old age home, and there's also this uniform adoption of age criteria for all benefits extended by central, state, and other sector. This is also seen in, it means that anybody above the age of 60 will be a senior citizen, because in certain sectors we have seen to get some concessions, there are rules of that organization. Some is 60, 62, or 65, whether it's in the railways or the other departments of the government. So this act wants a comprehensive and uniform adoption of age criterion. Um, so what about the some punitive measures? Caregivers, and we know that primary caregivers are family, and we are talking about family here because it's the parents and the children who are concerned, and also service providers can be jailed up to 6 months in case of any violation of the act. Unpaid maintenance after the order by the maintenance tribunal may lead to jail till payment. Now, suppose the order is passed by the maintenance tribunal that they think that 5,000 rupees per month has to be paid by the children, and they refuse to pay, then this has to be brought to the notice of the tribunal by the parent. Otherwise, the tribunal obviously will not come to know, but within 3 months. And then the tribunal will either summon that child or children, and that if he still is unable to pay, he will be jailed for up to 6 months. And there is a fine, of course, of 5,000 rupees. There is also another factor. This is I'm talking about the BEAR Act of the Maintenance and Welfare Act, is the BEAR Act. And every state, of course, based on that act, will have their own rules. Like West Bengal has its own rules and regulation. Similarly, Uttaranchal, Himachal, UP, and other states where the tribunal has come into being, then they have their own rules framed on the BEAR Act. Again, under the welfare component, there is the state level monitoring committee. This is formed under clause 21, which is there in the BEAR Act, and it has to be presided over the minister in charge of Department of Women and Child Development and Social Welfare. Basically, social welfare department. The minister in charge will be the leading that state level monitoring committee. And in this state level monitoring committee, there will be a member from each and every department of the state government, from the health department, from the finance department, and so on. And of course, there will be representations of NGOs, especially NGOs who work with the senior citizens. Again, as we have discussed this, government hospitals to provide beds for all senior citizens as far as possible. This comes under the welfare component. There has to be separate keys, like when we are standing in line for something, whether it is in the hospital, especially this rule is mainly for government hospitals, but it is for others to follow also. And research activities on chronic elderly diseases. We know that there's a specialized doctor we call geriatricians. It's geriatric health, we say, like as against the pediatric health, which is specifically for the children, and geriatric health is another specialization for the elderly people. So elderly diseases are something different, their medicines are something different. So research activities on these on chronic elderly diseases is also looked after, so that they have a better quality of life in old age. And facility for treatment of chronic, terminal, and degenerative diseases is also expanded for senior citizens. So what we see in this is that the health of senior citizens is given a lot of importance by this act, because in old age, one has to be, if one is not healthy, one is bedridden. We all know how big a suffering is that, and the quality of life and what we call today is active aging really suffers. So with the expanded lifespan, this is given a lot of importance. Now I can skip this, or I think I'll just, quickly run over this. This is what HelpAge has determined 10 issues of elderly people. We have identified that. And again, you see, it is in 2012, World Health Organization declared the year of healthy aging. So aging and health is very important. So certain things which is connected to aging, we in the sense Help Age India has identified. I'll just read it out to you. You can see it on your slides also. Failing health, economic insecurity, isolation, neglect, abuse, fear, boredom, lowered self-esteem, loss of control, and unpreparedness. Unpreparedness is something we should all be aware of from as moment we become an adult, is that we have to be prepared for old age. And for that, if we have to have a healthy aging, then we must do all the things that leads towards that, having the right food, doing proper exercises. And also mental health is very important, keeping ourselves mentally fit. That is also important. Here, one of the point you will see is abuse. Elderly people face a whole lot of abuse, and this is a very legal uh, issue, which, because you are students of law, you must keep this in mind, that this act, although not giving maintenance and not looking after your parents is a kind of abuse, but it does not deal abuse in a very systematic way by this law. Because suppose some a senior citizen gets physically abused in the house and goes and reports it to the police station, that's the only thing they can do. Then the police really is just a matter of family dispute for them, and there is no law, not even this maintenance law, by which they can go and handcuff the children. Like it's 498A, and domestic violence acts are there, which is very specific, and one can just get handcuffed and get in prison. But there is no such thing for elder abuse, at least not in the Maintenance Act, and not anywhere as such. Yes, again, what is necessary is today, I do not know how many people, students who are attending this was aware of the Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizens Act. By the sheer dint of the fact that your law students maybe or maybe not, I really don't know. So what is very important is for all stakeholders, even government officers, senior citizens, of course, and children should also know that yes, there's a law like that, because that would act as a deterrent to be abusive towards your parents and not give maintenance. So for everything, the publicity of this act is very important, and which is there in the act itself. They've talked about media publicity of the act at regular intervals through all the print media, the TV and the radio. And even as I'm talking about this act, I would also request you to sensitize as many senior citizens as possible about this act after today. Periodic sensitization of government officers, including the police and members of the judicial service, because there are so many acts, it is not possible for them to know everything, and so many new acts are coming up. We as an NGO, we specifically deal with senior citizens, so everything related to senior citizens, we are aware of. So it is also our duty as an NGO to sensitize government officers, the police and the judicial service, which we have done. And maybe at the end of this slide, I'll try and show you some pictures where we have sensitized the police in Kolkata. And because of that, they have agreed to, and we have given them, of course, copies of Maintenance Act, which they have kept in the police, every police station that comes under the Kolkata police. And even the police stations were made aware, because their officers were present at that time in that awareness campaign. And so if anybody who rings up our helpline, we always tell them to contact the nearest police station, which is the easiest thing for anybody to do. And after this, because the police officials were sensitized, they were aware of that act and they could help them. Even government officers, when I first went to Barakpur, which is a district in West Bengal, for this case, the SDO was not really very aware. So we always used to have to carry a book of the Maintenance Act and show it to the officer. And then, we had to proceed. So that's why I'm saying that the publicity and awareness and sensitization of this act is very important. And there has to be, as I discussed in the earlier slide, that there's a state level maintenance committee. Here you'll see effective coordination between the services provided by the concerned ministries, that is the law, home affairs, health and welfare, and so on, which with this coordination, anywhere in any department, they will be aware. So wherever the problem comes around from the senior citizens, these departments will be aware. The police elder helpline in Kolkata, I've just mentioned one. There's Pronam, which is a helpline for the police helpline for the senior citizen. And there is one in Bidhannagar also, it's called Shanjbati. And there's one in Barapur also, it's called Orpon. And so similar helplines have come in place only because of this act and whatever it is written in the welfare components, as I discussed with you. So these are, yes, certain pictures where they're being sensitized. Of course, you can see, we don't know who is on the other side, but I can say that. That's I was there talking to them about the Maintenance Act, in fact, especially. And here are some media clippings. As I said, I hope you can see this. Cops launch initiative to ensure children take care of aged parents. So that's what I was talking about, the media publicity, and that's what how important it is, this Maintenance Act, and the necessity for the publicity of this act. There again, this is another news piece. Police help for harassed elderly parents. And of course, inside, is what is written, which you can't read, is what I want to say is, again, they have taken the help of this act, the Maintenance Act. This is in Bengali, all this, yeah. And as I was talking about the adoptive children, adoptive parents, this is what has been passed by a judgment in High Court in Calcutta. Children in law to also be responsible for care of aged people. Yeah, I think that's it for today. I will just try and share another. Yes. Can this be seen in your?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, help elderly man return home. High Court orders cops. So everybody does not have the money to go, or the manpower or the will to go to court, because for the name of court, people get scared, they don't know where to go, how to go. It's a big thing. So this act is, in a way, very easy to access. This is what I want to say. This is important. Whatever you're seeing on the slide, help elderly man return home, is important. I've shown this slide just to make you understand that the awareness that is building up in the amongst the police personnel in court for the senior citizens, abuse against them, and what needs to be done. So there is another, wait, yeah. In the Delhi High Court also, I'm reading this out. It was a news clipping. On Tuesday, directed that a son, irrespective of his marital status, does not have any legal right to live in his parents' house without the consent of the parents. So the High Court said that the son could reside in his parents' house they use the word, and within quotes, mercy of the parent. The High Court said the son could stay only because the parents have allowed him to stay in their house as they have cordial relations, and not because they have to bear his burden. And the name of the justice who is also given here, Justice Pratibha Rani, said that if the house has been self-acquired by the parents, then the son, married or unmarried, could only stay in the house at the mercy of the parents and not because he has a legal right to. So, and they of course go on to say that this is the prerogative of the parent, and it's just like the lesser and the lessee, meaning thereby that just like in a rented house is the landlord, and the landlord has these days the right to order the tenant to go out of his house, because the tenant has no right if the landlord doesn't wish to keep the tenant. Similarly, it is a lesser and a lessee relationship between the parent and the children in cases where there is not a mutual understanding between the two sides. So that's about it all. Now let me get out of the slide sharing. Yeah, I'll just check the chat because what I wanted to say was just can you still see the slide? Yeah, I have to get out of it first.
Yes, ma'am.
I have to go to the stop sharing one.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but I can just a minute. Stop share. Yeah, I got it. So that's it. There are a few questions in the chat. Let me, and one can ask me also. You can unmute yourself and I can answer your questions. But before that, yes, old age home and demotivate. Yes, of course it is. And my father, who lives alone, you can say, or till a long time did live alone because we were not there, will still not leave his home. And there are caregivers, but he will not go into any old age home, despite the fact that the caregivers might just not turn up or is not doing the right thing. Whatever complaints, a whole lot of complaint against the caregiver, but still will not leave his home and go. But what happens is, but still we're in the same city, so it is possible. But if I was not in the same city with my elderly father, then I would have been really anxious each and every day of my life, because I don't know what was happening to him. In an institution like an old age home, if it is a good old age home, and now, as I said, by this act, there are certain parameters where that an old age home has to maintain. There, at least him getting proper medicine, his health, and his daily food, and everything, as we say, activities of daily living and everything is taken care of by the home. So generally, children are more, worry free if the parents, elderly parents, are in a good old age home. Yes, still demotivating, I should say, and those who can stay in their own home should stay in their own home, and that's what Helpage also espouses, because we say there's a word for it, phrase for it rather. We say that aging in place, place meaning home, wherever they are placed, aging there is the best thing that can ever be. But it seems that is becoming very utopian in a society which has gone global, and the changes that are coming into the society these days. I have a question. The male parent is harassed, then we cannot apply Domestic Violence Act. We can only apply 498A and sometimes 307. Also, yeah, so male parent is, then we cannot apply the Domestic Violence Act, but 498A, no. it is, then it will become, if the, now there is a, you see, these are very fine balances, because one law or one act overlaps the other. So what happens in 498A is generally the daughter-in-law is sort of filing the case against the in-laws. It generally happens that way in all practical, for all practical purpose. The Domestic Violence Act is, of course, 7 years, within 7 years of marriage. After that, that act does not apply. I don't think so, as far as my knowledge goes. I'm not a lawyer. But Domestic Violence Act is only for the first 7 years of marriage. The 498A is another issue altogether. Then what happens really under 498A, the senior citizens, the elderly parents-in-law have suffered. Now, as I was saying, the Maintenance Act does not have that teeth, that bite to, counteract the 498A cases. But anyway, a lot of, as I said, awareness is a very important thing. There has been a lot of awareness on elder abuse. So the police also, the administration, and the courts are looking at it in a sympathetic way, and not just by the rule of the law. So there are certain changes there. So Monica Agarwal, I think I've been able to answer your question, but this is to the best of my ability. You can ask me if you have any other questions. That goes for Monica. And okay, so now Gitanjali. Okay. So those are the questions. I don't think they're.
Priyanshi ma'am.
I can't see any hand. Oh yeah. Okay. Yes, you can unmute and you can ask.
Priyanshi ma'am.
Yes, there's one more question in the chat box. If police officials do not respond on time, what actions can be taken against them?
No action can be really taken against the policeman. Unfortunately, it's not so easy and not so direct. But yes, they can be held responsible by approaching their seniors. That is one thing. The other thing is that it has happened here also. So they have always called us on our helpline, and because Helpaging is a big organization, it's an institution. When a phone call goes from such an organization, then the police, they do take the necessary action, and our helpline person also reaches the police station, and that way it has been working wherever helpage officers are there. Generally what happens is, if one person approaches, there's this saying that if it is easy to break one stick, but when you go in a group of, a bundle of sticks, you cannot break it. So if you go in a group, you have that strength. If one person approaches the police station, they may not get the necessary, hearing or attention. So in that case, I would suggest that they should, from the local counselor community, if you can have a group and go together, that is important. If there is any NGO who is working with the senior citizens, or even otherwise an established NGO, doesn't necessarily have to be very big, but locally it may be very important. They can be approached in such cases. But yes, punitive action against the police officer, not possible.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Another question is there, like, do kids, they owe their parents any kind of moral obligation that they should take care of their old parents?
Of course, that goes without saying. But as I said, directive of principles of state policy is a matter of, fundamental thing for the functioning of a government. But it cannot hold you responsible. It is not an act. And as I said, no act can say you have to love your parents. So you cannot do this. A moral obligation should come from within. But unfortunately, it doesn't. And maybe in a majority of the cases, it doesn't. So an act like this had to be passed in the parliament.
And ma'am, usually it happens like the old parents, they find themselves helpless. So how can we make them aware about their rights? because otherwise they just become the silent victims.
Yes. So the importance of awareness of all stakeholders, especially the senior citizens in such cases, is very important. And it's a kind of a domino effect, in the sense that if today we had a meeting, and as I said, that after today's meeting, if each and every student sensitizes their members of the family and larger extended members of the family, that's how they will come to know. And the other way is doing it in a systematic way, but there should be some organization that will hold time to time awareness campaigns, where the police personnel, the administration, and all stakeholders, as I said, who are important, should come and be aware of the existence of such a law, especially in this neighborhood. The local councillor, the clubs, those are active, they should come together and do this.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Now I request Dr. Ashish Kumar Singhal, Associate Professor, ICFI Law School, to present the vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Am I audible?
No, sir, voice is very low.
Now, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone, one and all present here. Chief guest of today's guest lecture on the rights of parents, Miss Anuradha Sen, Deputy Director, Helpage India. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, Registrar, Sir, ICFI University. Assistant Dean, ILS, Mrs. Monica Karula. Madam, faculty members, and all the students from ICFI Law School, the ICFI University, Dehradun. I, Dr. Ashish Singhal, welcome all of you on behalf of ICFI Law School, ICFI University. Thank you, Madam, for giving such a wonderful lecture relating to the rights of parents. It is such an honor for me to get the opportunity to thank you. On behalf of the ICFI Law School, the ICFI University, Dehradun, I extend a warm welcome to the people of gathering. I would like to express my gratitude to our honorable chief guest to take out time from her busy schedule to grace the guest lecture on the rights of parents. Thank you, ma'am, for inspiring us, encouraging us, and guiding us with your kind words. You have given a brief about the elderly, this pupil, their life, 2 years, and the protection of life of senior citizens. You described different aspects relating to the facing of those persons. You defined us the different aspects of the law, especially about the Article 14, 19, and 21. And side by side, you also described us about the criminal provisions, like for example about 498A. You also talked about this thing. And lastly, you told us that how to safeguard the interest of those elderly persons. A special thanks to Mr. Divakar Das and Dr. Mriganshi Wilson, Placement and Internship Manager and Faculty of Law, for immense support and organization to make the guest lecture session a great success. I must thank the entire team of the ICFI Law School, faculty and the students for working hard to make the guest lecture a success. Thank you everyone once again for making it a great learning session. Thank you to our today's this chief guest, Miss Anuradha. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot, ma'am. Now it's over to Mriganshi, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. It was very wonderful.
Hello, Mriganshi.
We have with us Assistant Dean, Mrs. Monica Corolla, ma'am, ICFI Law School.
Thank you, Mriganshi. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I didn't want to lose this opportunity to thank Ms. Anuradha for being with us. Actually, I couldn't connect in the initial starting of the program. So, and my camera also, yeah. And thank you for being here and for giving this wonderful presentation to the students. I'm sure that they'll be a lot more sensitized to the needs of parents and as a duty to the elderly. And we will take it forward by conducting activities in the field also. And we look forward to working with your institution for making life for seniors better. And once again, thank you for giving us your time and talking to the students. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you to Divakar and Mriganshi and Ashish sir and to all the other people who have worked for this. So, ma'am, we'll be looking forward to working with you and making things more, effective with your help. Thank you once again. Thank you. Okay, Mriganshi, we can
Thank
close.
you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. With your permission, may we end the meeting?
Please, thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and thank you, ma'am, once again.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anuradha, ma'am, and
Okay,
Divakar
thank
sir
you.
and Monica, ma'am.